Hello and welcome to my Kalphite Queen on a Slayer task guide. This guide is specifically for people on the Kalphite Queen special task, or if you just feel like killing the Kalphite Queen on a normal Slayer task as well. For the requirements, these are the recommended minimum requirements. You could theoretically do it with lower stats, it's just not as easy. However, for my guide, you must be on a Kalphite Queen or just a Kalphite task. For the Black Mask or Slayer Helmet bonus, I do recommend 80 plus combat stats. 70 plus prayer is almost a must for piety, or if you have 95 prayer, you obviously want turmoil. 67 plus summoning is very useful for a war tortoise. And access to the fairy rings is very useful and if you do die, would be much easier to get back if you have access to the fairy rings. To get to the Kalphite Queen, if you can use the fairy rings, I highly recommend it. Simply go to code BIQ and run northwest. If you haven't completed Fairy Tale Part 3, then you obviously need to bring a Drainer or a Lunar Staff to the inventory setup I show you. You cannot use the fairy rings, then you'll run from Shanty Pass. And in the inventory setup I show you, you will need to add a Shanty Pass. Using either of these methods, you really don't need a water skin. They're not really worth the inventory space. Running from Shanty Pass, you might want to use it, but it's not that necessary, so don't worry about it. For the gear, I am assuming you are on a Slayer task, so you will want a full Slayer helmet, or a Black Mask for the 15% attack and strength bonus it gives. Next, you preferably do want a fire cape. Any other good effective cape is fine for this as well. An Hour Dome Cloak 3 will work very well with a rapier, but preferably a fire cape. I have an Amulet of Fury. Amulet of Glory works fine here. Chaotic Longsword is usually the best weapon for this because it has such a high slash attack bonus. But a rapier or a maul will work just fine as well, or even just a whip. Godsword might be a little bit better than a whip, but it is very slow. I'd preferably go with a whip. After that, I have a Guthan's Plate Body and Varax's Skirt. These are for the defense bonuses, and the Varax Skirt for the prayer bonus. Bando's armor is probably the best armor for this, short of Torva. But these two are good, and Thorax would be fine, something like that. I have a Dragon Defender that I'm using. If it's your first time, you might want to go with a shield, like a Dragon Fire Shield. Then, obviously, you want your best gloves. I have the Barrow's gloves. Dragon Boots, you could use Steadfast Boots, but Dragon Boots are just fine. And then I have a Berserker Ring Imbued. An Onyx Ring Imbued also works. A Warrior Ring Imbued, or just a Warrior Ring. Remember, with the Warrior Ring, only use it with a Chaotic Longsword, a Whip, or using a slash attack on the Godsword. Don't use it with a stab weapon. And other than those three, just like an Explorer's Ring or a Ring of Wealth also works just fine. For the inventory, I actually like a Dragon Dagger poisoned the most, because with the poison it can deal several hundred damage over the course of a kill, which can be very useful. Then I have Extremes. Supers work fine here. I actually don't recommend bringing overloads because they really aren't necessary here. Then I have one Ceradomin Brew and one Super Restore for just right before I go in. I drink one of each for boosting my life points. You do on anti-poison because the guards and the soldiers can poison you, and that poison can deal a lot of damage to you over a kill. Then I bring a few prayer potions. This is usually enough for most people. You could bring theoretically one less, I think, but 2 is usually fine. Then you do want to teleport out. If it is your first time to the lair, you will want 2 ropes. If you've been there just like the upper level, then you only really need 1 rope. And if you've been all the way to the Kalphite Queen before, you obviously don't need any ropes. Other than that, just fill it with rock tails. I actually can get away with cavefish just fine. So rock tails are actually a little bit extra. And then you want to fill your war tortoise or best beast of burden with more rock tails. With this setup, I can usually actually get 2 to 3 kills per trip if I really wanted to. For getting to the Kalphite Queen, obviously just use the fairy rings or run from Shanty Pass. Then go over a tunnel. If you do need to rest, especially if you ran from Shanty Pass, this is a good place to do it. Start of the tunnel. It is a long tunnel, so you do use a lot of run energy to get all the way through. Other than that, just run on through. If you do get poisoned by one of the soldiers or the guards, then drink an anti-poison. Right before the room with the first 2 guards, you want to rest to restore your run energy. Once you're ready, you also want to pot up. Also, this is a good place to check your quick prayers and things like that. You want to be praying protect from magic, turmoil, or piety if you do not have turmoil. And if you have it, berserk works is very useful here. Then Ceridome Brew, a super restore, then your super or extreme set, and then go on into the hive. Once you're in, there are also 2 guards in here that will poison you if they get the chance. You want to run to the other side of the Kalphite Queen and use the Kalphite Queen to block those 2 guards. Then you want to go about killing the Kalphite Queen. The Kalphite Queen does have 2 forms, which can be, the first form is very resistant to magic and range attacks. The second form is very resistant to max. However, one thing to keep in mind is it is not invincible to melee attacks. Even though it has protect from melee prayer, looks like it can be hit despite this. Basically, Jagex has confirmed that it's really just a natural resistance, and so it's not really a prayer. So you can use just a normal chaotic longsword or a normal weapon to hurt it, especially if you're using a black mask. Other than that, you want to keep your health above about 500 and keep a close eye on your prayer. You do not want your prayer to drop. The Kalphite Queen's mage and range attacks actually do have a 100% hit rate, so you do not want these to be hitting you. If you are praying against them though, they will not hit at all. So thanks for watching. I do hope it helped. For next week's guide, I'm actually going to not release it on Sunday. This is because I'm expecting the Dominion Tower on that Monday, which means if I had just released a guide, I would probably wait a week because I'd be busy doing other things. So instead, I'm not going to release a guide next Sunday. I'm probably going to release it between Monday and Wednesday, and maybe even several guides, as I do want to cover that quite deeply. Other than that, I asked you guys what other videos you guys want, and one of the very common videos was a update video. So I'm going to be releasing update videos and probably a Slayer log type thing also on Wednesdays, and that will probably also be the video that I release on Sunday. So subscribe for those, and please rate and comment on this video as well.